Okay, so we're going to get started here. Now, there's not a ton of us here today, so if you do have any questions, feel free just to raise your hand or to put them in the chat, and Lydia is going to help answer some of those questions as well. Just so you know, today's session, we're going to explore how to set up specifically practice tests and field tests for our grade 12 math subject areas. And so and we'll also show you some tools that are going to help support students with this digital platform, Vretta. And so just wanted to point out that for diplomas, the June diplomas, all June diplomas for Part A Humanities are being written on the Vretta platform. So that's ELA Social, but optional and highly encouraged is your digital diplomas for Part B, Humanities, Math, and Science. And this has been a school-based decision, so this would have already been communicated at your schools. It is important to note that students are not to write any hybrid formats of these exams. So they have to write either like they're writing with the paper and they're sticking to the paper, or they're using Vretta, which is the digital assessment platform, because those exams aren't the same. Just the way the questions are laid out, it's not going to show up or appear the same to be as the two different formats. So for today's session, we want to just highlight the differences between what we've kind of been doing with the Vretta platform and what the math specifically will look like, especially with our written response sheets, because it is different. In terms of diploma exams, your school administrator, and this has always been the same, they will create those groupings for diploma exams. So that hasn't changed, but particularly for math, your admin will create those groupings, and then teachers can create practice and field tests. And so that's what we're going to show you today, how to do that. But with all of these written response assessments, students have to be added to the group ahead of time. So that's a little different than our other assessments that take place using the Vretta platform, in that students would actually from the teacher dashboard be added in there, and we'll show you how that's done on the teacher dashboard. These response sheets need to be printed, and then they'll be distributed to students. Another difference is in the platform, because you're adding those students ahead of time, there is the ability to mark them off as absent, and so you need to do that when students are writing a written response, just so that we know that they're absent and they're not there, and they won't have a submission for those written response sheets. So the school administrator at your school will be responsible for scanning and uploading the written responses after the teacher has submitted that session. And so they'll upload them into the admin dashboard. And that's going to be for your field tests and for the diploma exams. So that's what makes this assessment different from the other assessments utilizing the Vretta platform. And so we put some resources together here for you. There is our EPD site. Alberta Ed has really good documentation and videos available, as well as always feel free to reach out to EdTech. In this presentation, because we're not going through the administrator side of things, we've included two documents here. So there's administering the Math 30 diploma instructions for school administrators, and then there's the uploading of the Math 30 written responses documentation. And these are guides directly from the Alberta Ed website that walk you through, as a school administrator, the process on how to do this. We also have the teacher documentation for field tests, and this walks through instructions on how you can set these field tests up for your students with the written response sheets, and go through that process. And so I'll show you a live demo of Vretta in a minute here, but we're just going to go through some of the slides first, and then we'll head over and show you where you can access some of these resources. So there's also practice tests. And so the practice tests, let's jump out right now, actually. And so if you are logged into your Google Chrome browser, you actually have access to our CSSD bookmarks. And so in these bookmarks, you're going to find There's a Vretta link for teachers. And so teachers, this is how you'll access the platform. You'll also find here a link to our EPD site for Vretta. And then we also have a link there for students to access practice exams. So students will have this link on their bookmarks as well. So for us as teachers, we're going to go to Vretta. It's a quick and easy way for you to access the platform. And then from here, if you click on Help, you'll be able to see the documentation and the video tutorials that are available. So you have your school administrator, resources, these are documents, and then they have them separated into videos that are available. For teachers, you have your resources here. So there's the Math 30 instructions for teachers for field tests, and a whole bunch of different other videos as well. Okay, there's accommodations, how to create a practice group, so all could be applicable, but we'll walk you through that process today. So going back to the login screen, you'll also have these try a practice test. And so this is the bookmark that's available for the student bookmarks, and that's this link down here. It's essentially going to take us to the practice tests. And so if I wanted to have my grade 12 class go through a practice math assessment, I could click on grade 12, and then scrolling down here, we notice they're not really in order. So you do have to do a little bit of searching. Hopefully they fix this. But if you scroll through, you'll be able to see some of these math practice assessments that are available. So if I click on, and I don't know, lady, if you want me to select a specific one here.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the 30-1, there's two versions. There's a 1 and a 2. Currently we emailed the Alberta Education or the online assessment group about some people are getting, like, when they click on it, they get a must sign in. So just they're aware of it. Some of you might be able to access it. Some of you are forced to go to sign in. So but it's number 2. I don't know which one you just clicked there, but Math 30-1 test.
Yeah.
So you get that too. Okay, yeah. So they're aware. Yeah. So if you click on that, just know that I already emailed about those ones. So it's just the 30-1 test 2.
Perfect. Yeah, and so they've been working on getting these updated and implemented here for students to practice with them, which has been awesome. But they're also working on the organizing piece as well. So hopefully once PATs are done, they'll be able to work on this. But so from here, you can have students complete a practice assessment on the website, but it's important to note that if students do go through this and practice these questions, this is on the web browser, and so the responses aren't saved. The student will be able to go through and they'll be able to see their results, I believe. I want to advance. I didn't answer any questions. Are you sure you want to submit? I'm going to click next here. I want to submit, and then let's try it here next. It will give them their score on the assessment. But just know that it won't give them the score on the written response, right? But it will give them the score on the multiple choice. But this isn't documented anywhere for the teacher. So if you wanted to have a place where you could actually see the students' score on these previously released practice assessments, you would want to do these in the actual Vretta platform with your students. So it's a good way to get them in there if you wanted to just walk them through what a test is going to look like, how it's going to interact, what are some of the questions, what are some of the inputs you need to do. This would be a good starting place. But then again, if you want to see the data and what students got right and what they got wrong and revisit it, you'd be able to do that in the platform. And the assessments that are on the practice here, going back, these are they should all be, and I'm saying they should all be, I haven't seen it exactly, but in the platform as ones that you can choose and have your students complete in class. So hopefully that makes sense. So we are going to jump back into our presentation here. Those were the practice assessments that you could start with your students. Okay, so for the teacher role with the Vretta platform itself, In order to have an account and to be able to see your school tile, you're going to have to accept an invitation from Alberta Ed, and it's your school administrator that needs to add you as a teacher to the platform. So if you find someone at your school that has school admin access, they can add you. You'll get the email, you'll set up your account using your district email. The next thing you'll need to do is provide your students with maybe like an index card that has their ASN, their birth date, and their name. They should know their name, but for you to identify that card, and then you can collect those at the end of each assessment if you're doing them with your students in the class. You're going to be able to create groups and assessments, practice tests and field tests from the teacher dashboard. You'll be able to add student accommodations, monitor students during assessments, pause, lock, unlock assessments, and then finally submit the assessment. And so when you're creating an assessment, I just wanted to emphasize that with the practice tests, you can set these up in the Vretta platform. So you could do this tomorrow if you wanted to with your students. You would have to add your students ahead of time if you were choosing a written response practice assessment to do with them. So that's if you wanted to go through that process of printing the sheets and then having them complete that just to see what it's like before you actually do a field test. This is what we would recommend. And so you could add your students. You would print the response sheets, but if you were just doing a practice like we showed you, you obviously wouldn't need to scan and upload those into the platform. You would need to scan and upload those responses though if you were doing a field test. So if you're doing a field test, again, you would set it up in your teacher dashboard, you create your group, you create your assessment, you print the responses, and then you'd have to give those to a school administrator to upload those responses into the platform. So that they can be submitted to Alberta Ed. And then the last one was diplomas. This is where admin has to create those groups. They would add the students still from the teacher dashboard, print the written responses, and then the administrators would scan and upload those into the platform. So I want to Lydia and I want to walk through with you today just how you would do a practice assessment in the platform. So for example, like a Math 30-2 end of course practice assessment that has a one written response answer. So this was the assessment I'm going to choose from the drop-down menu as a teacher to create with my students. So I'm going to hop out of here. And if I miss anything, I'll jump back. But we are going to go to the platform. So if I was going to just do a practice assessment with my students, I would head to my bookmarks. I'd go to Vretta. I would log in with this as a staff member. And so from here, this is where you'll see your tile. And once you've been added to the platform, you'll have your school and it'll say teacher and it will have your school on there. That's your teacher tile. Once you've gotten into the platform here, you'll see I have a bunch of groups created. And so they have different sections or headings here. So I have grade 9, PAT, etc. But I also have here this grade 12 classwork. Now these headings won't be here unless you actually create your group first. And so I'm going to click on create group. And this is the first thing you would do. You would create your group for grade 12. And then you'd select your administration window. So if you were running a field test, this is where you choose your field test writing session. And we're actually going to just be doing a practice test. And so that's going to be under grade 12 classwork. You do have to give a name to your grouping. And so for this, if I'm just using this for I'm going to use it for Grant Math 30-2. This is going to be my period 2 class, and then maybe semester 2. So I could use this one group to run all my field tests in. I could use this one group to run all my practice tests in. This is for this class so that I'm only giving them, let's say, one access code. So I'm going to click OK.
Sorry, Andrea, to interrupt you.
Yeah. So
you said field test and practice test, but because it's a classwork grouping, the field test wouldn't be part of that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, you would have to make another new group and then choose that field test section. Yes, and then give that group a name. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, so grade 12 classwork 2025, 2026. Here's my grouping, so I'm going to select that class. And it does look like nothing happens. This has been brought up to my attention today. You have to scroll up to the top of your screen. Once you get to the top of your screen, here's where you're going to start or schedule your assessment. So I'm going to start or schedule. I'm going to choose practice and released. If I choose diplomas just for the fun of it, oh, something did pop up in French. Nothing should really be there. I'm going to choose practice and released because I'm in that writing session. And then from here, I can scroll down and find my math. I was doing the math 30-2. Do you see with written? It doesn't have the written response beside it, does it? Which looks different. I'm going to choose this math 30-1 end of course practice test.
Yeah.
Okay, and so once I've done that, I don't have to fill in anything else. I can click OK. And we'll see if, yeah, so it does have the written response at the top here, which I thought would be there. This is what I want you to see, because this is what looks a little different, in that this is where you're going to print off your written response sheets for your students. And so you can see there's a one question, but there's two parts to that question, which means there'll be two sheets printed for each student. And so this is my dashboard. This is where I'm going to be able to monitor the assessment. When students enter the assessment, they will pop up below here. And so from here, I'll be able to admit them and then unlock their assessment so that they can start completing the practice assessment. You have up here access code. That's the code that you're going to provide students so that they're able to get into the assessment. And that's the code that they'll use also with their ASN, their birthday, and their, what else? ASN, access code, and birthday, those three things. So I'm just going to hop back here to our slide deck for a sec to make sure that I've covered all those things. So these are all the things I just walked you through. You have your grouping. This is where you'll start or schedule your assessment, and you have your access code. There is a video in this slide deck that walks you through what I just walked you through that you can watch if you need a refresher. The next part is, this is the part that's new for the math assessments and for printing those sheets. And so what we need to do is actually add students to the group. And so this is a way for us to print those response sheets for them ahead of time. So if you get to your grouping, so you click on your grouping, you're going to click on Manage Students. And so once you click on Manage Students, and I think this should be done, I don't know that it matters if it's done before or after the assessment's created, but we should be able to find out. So you can add students 3 different ways. You can upload a CSV document, which is like an Excel document with the students' ASN numbers, and I'll show you more details on that after. You can also click on Add Students and then search for the student name, or you can add the student by their ASN number. And so I have a test student here that I'm going to look up and see if they appear. Okay, so this is my sample student. And so this is the student I want to confirm that's their ASN. This is the group I want to add them to. So I'm going to do a quick add. And now my student is there. So heading back out to the group, I'm going to click on the assessment. And then here, you'll actually see that student has popped up. And now I have the written responses for that student. So I'm going to just click on here. This basically gives me a PDF that downloads that is the first response for that student. So this is what the response sheet will look like. Now that was just for that 1A, so the first part, that was one PDF. So I don't want to do that. if I have 30 students in my class, I don't want to click on each of those response sheets. There is a way to bulk print them. And so this is what the response sheets look like. It will have the student name, it'll have the ASN, it will have the access code for that group, and then it will have a QR code. That's what that looks like. So heading back here, if you wanted to print them all at one time, and so you have all of your students added ahead of time, you can click on Print Assessment Response Sheets, and then this will appear, and you will have all of the documents to print as opposed to printing one at a time. Now, when you're printing these sheets, I just wanted to point out that there are some things you want to pay attention to when you're printing them. You want to make sure they're on a letter size, so just a regular letter size sheet of paper, just plain white paper, 100% scalability, so it's at 100%, it's not zoomed in or zoomed out. They recommend color, standard, or high quality print. Also, just keeping in mind we're not bending the sheets or having students write on any of the part outside of this writing box, because that will hinder the process to be able to scan them and upload them into the platform come time for a field test or for a diploma. Are there any questions so far about this? To get the student list, there is a quicker way to get the student ASNs, and this will help you when you're creating those cards. If you wanted to create the cards for your classes, under your PowerSchool account, there is a reports link that you can click on, and there is a report that has the student account information. And from there, it'll generate you a Excel file, and so you'll be able to basically edit that information on there and to delete any columns that you don't need in order to enter those students into the platform. So the CSV file, if you wanted to use that as a way to enter the students, a quick way to enter the students into Vretta, you would just need to create an Excel document or a CSV file, I should say, so you could do that in Sheets as well. But you want to have the ASN as your first cell, and then underneath that, just have the student ASN numbers. So that's the only information you would need in order to add the CSV file ahead of time, so that you didn't have to do it manually for each of your students. Okay, so we've done this live. This was the dashboard that we looked at live, and so we're gonna keep going here. This was how you print your assessments, and then this is what the assessment, written response sheet looks like. And so those need to be printed between 3 to 5 days in advance of a diploma or a field test. You would open it and print it, and keep these sheets secured if you're doing a field test until after the assessment. And then you want to delete the file from the computer because it does have that identifiable information on there, the ASN, the student name. You just want to make sure you delete that from your computer. So during the administration of a written response math assessment in the platform, you want to distribute the sheets to the students, have them verify that that is them. They can confirm that information. Just remind them that they only want to write in that space that's provided in the sheet. So they don't want to write outside of that. That's what they'll be looking at. Ensure that the QR code and the black dots, which are the crop marks, are visible on the sheet. And then for the field test, what's a little different than in the past is that you do, like I had mentioned earlier, want to mark them absent if they're not there, so that the program knows that those sheets won't be submitted for that student.
And Andrea, to clarify, just as a question, if you were doing like a field test or practice test that does not include the written response component, you would not have to, again, add the students early because you don't have to print any response sheets, and then you wouldn't have to mark them absent just because they wouldn't have populated.
Exactly.
Okay, in the dashboard. Yeah. So just in case anyone had that question.
Yeah, for sure. Unlocking. So we did want to show this is what like a sample written response question would look like. So it would say, it would give the question here, and then it would give you the information, the question, and then record your response on the written response sheet, question 1A. And so you do not, the other thing I forgot to mention is you want to print these single-sided. They should not be printed double-sided. I hope I mentioned that before. Once students come into your teacher dashboard, you'll admit them and then you'll unlock them just by clicking on the unlock. You can wait till all the students are there though, and then click the unlock up here, and it will let them all in at one time. So if you've done a field test, and I know I'm jumping between a practice test and a field test, because the practice test you wouldn't be scanning and uploading, but the field test you would be. And so after the administration of a field test, you're going to collect all the sheets back, and then you're going to give those to the school administrator at your school, or the person responsible who has admin access for Vretta. You're going to hand those sheets to them so that they can be scanned and uploaded within 48 hours to the platform on the school admin side. The sheets do not need to be in alphabetical order. And then any scrap paper that was used during the assessment, and they say formula sheets, you want to just shred. Submit the assessment session by clicking on the Submit Assessment Session button. And so that's the green button that's on your teacher dashboard. That is to submit the final session. This can't be undone. So you want to make sure that all students have completed the assessment, and then hit that green button to ensure that you want to submit it, and then those responses can be uploaded into the platform on the admin side of things.
And then Andrew, just sorry to add on, we had a question, I believe, last year when running the field test, like with the written response. So what if a teacher, is using the field test as a replacement mark or anything like that, or wants to mark it themselves? I think but last year we had said, yeah, you can mark it, you just can't make markings on the student sheets. But if you want to mark it like kind of on your own, like a separate paper, and keep track of their score, you can do it that way. But yeah, don't mark up, like as you said, don't mark up the written response sheets before your admin has to upload them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, thank you. Okay, so I do have a couple slides on what a field test, because when I did that live demo, we walked through how to create a practice test. And as Lydia pointed out, to create a field test, you need to create a new group, and you would choose the secure field test administration window when that pops up. So instead of choosing classwork, I would choose grade 12. Session 2 secure field test diploma subjects, and then I would choose from the assessment the actual field test tab that's there. And so the thing that differs with the field tests is that they will give you a writing date in which the assessment must fall under. So just be aware of that. Plus you also need to add the number of students that will be writing the assessment. So you can use an approximate number in this box when it prompts you. You also have the ability to change the field test time. So if you do select this and then something comes up and you have to change it, you do have the ability to do that in your teacher dashboard. I did link here the field testing guide that does provide more information, and also you do want to make sure that your administration knows that you are conducting these field tests as well. So you'll have a confidentiality agreement. You can read through, click OK, and then again, this is the dashboard that's going to pop up, and this is where you'll be able to change the date if you have to. There is a video here on how to do that. As you start doing more practice assessments with your students and field tests, and you saw my dashboard looks pretty cluttered. I can go into my dashboard, and I do have the ability to clean up some of these groupings. And so I would do that at the very bottom. I can click on show archived, allow class archiving. And then from here, I can archive some of these groups just to clear them off my dashboard if I don't want to see them. They don't actually allow teachers to delete those groupings. So that would have to be done on the admin side of things, and they don't recommend deleting them, but they do want you to be able to have that ability to clean up your dashboard there. So when you're administering, this is just the next part of actually getting the students to log into the platform. They're going to be using a Chromebook. So on the Chromebook, there is where Quest A Plus used to be on the home screen, you're going to see Vretta. So it's the Vretta link icon that's in the middle of the device. And so students are going to click on that. So I don't know if you can see that? I have a filter on. See that there? So students will click on that. They won't log in with their @Learn email. They'll click on that arrow, go through that. Then they will enter their access code, their ASN, and their birthday. I'm going to go here. You'll see that here, their birthday, and then be able to proceed and sign into the assessment. Once they get into the assessment, they'll click on the word assessment, and that will get them into that waiting room, when the teacher will then admit them and unlock their assessment for them to access the platform. There is a video with instructions on the slide before. This is the waiting room in which you'll see that they'll be waiting for you to let them in. Accommodations, if you do have students that need audio accommodations, this can be added to their, there is a function in the platform for text to speech, and that can be basically enabled on the student profile from the teacher dashboard, where you'll be able to go to the student, click on the student, edit their profile, and add that accommodation. Dictation and select to speak documentation can be found here. That's a Chromebook accommodation that would have to be enabled ahead of time. And then just be aware that the accommodation will stay on the student account unless it's changed, and can also be added by a school administrator. So accepting students, that's that step before unlocking. And then this is where you'll unlock them. And there is a video to walk you through that as well. As the assessment goes on, you can monitor the assessment. You will be able to view their responses. And there is, I have to double check on the perusal for field tests, but I believe it shows up in the teacher dashboard after about 15 minutes, right, Lydia? I think that's what happened in the past. Also, if a student does submit by accident, we actually had that in a PAT. They submitted it within like the first 5 minutes by accident. You can unsubmit it. You just have to click on this show unsubmit session button, and then it will allow you to unsubmit the student's session. But once again, everything's kind of finished, you're going to want to submit it all with that green button. Now, to view responses, this one's a little tricky because it's where you created that assessment. So it's not the most intuitive dashboard to find the student responses. But when you go to your grouping, I probably archived that group. I'll click on here. So it's in this menu right here where you added students. You'll actually see this little button beside the assessment, and you can click on there and view. This is where you'll be able to see student responses. So I always click back on the tabs that are on the top left-hand side of the screen. This always navigates me back to my groupings or where I need to be. You can click on there and then view responses, where the student name will pop up. And that's usually where the perusal pops up as well.
And you mentioned perusal, but just that's for the field test. Like
field
you said 15
test.
minutes after, and then you can also put comments in, like feedback. But perusal for the diploma looks different.
Yes. Yeah.
So to clarify for that.
Thank you. Yeah. The perusal for the diploma is now that is still being worked out from Alberta Ed. The plan is to have that in the school admin dashboard. So that won't be on the teacher side of the tile. Yeah. Okay. So next up, we're on to the assessment interface. This is just the annotation tools that are available in the platform. I think, Lydia, you were going to speak to this a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, there was some examples. So the annotation tools look similar, whether it's like an English diploma or social. But for math, I know there's questions about how students can draw or things like that. So this is just some examples of like going into the annotation tool, which is on the right here. It's the one that looks like a piece of paper. And then once you click that, the little icons at the bottom pop up. And you'll see there's a highlighter, a freehand drawing tool. There's a line and an arrow tool, an eraser. You can click on the individual things and then just delete those as well. And that little broom is like a clear
clean sweep.
It's like
a clean sweep.
Yeah. And so these annotations that you see on here would be if, a student wanted to cross things out or draw on the graphs. Those annotations are not part of the marks, right? So the markers are not going to see that. It's only for students. On the practice test too, they can do that and they flip back and forth, and those are they'll stay on each page.
Yeah.
Unless they delete it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add or if there's any questions about those.
No, I'm just glad that you put that together there because that looks.
It was an English thing, a comprehension one.
That looks scary to me.
Figured you guys wanted to see some math rather than reading comp, but.
That's funny. So Lydia's added links to some of the printable materials for the diploma and for the field test. So some blank scrap paper, some graph scrap paper, and some formula sheets as well. So the school does have the ability to print those off, and they do have to be shredded after they've been used in case there's any writing on it. So thanks for providing those.
Yeah, so for, sorry. Yeah. If you do whether a field test or practice test, and for the diploma, the formula sheet is embedded in the platform. So you'll click on the resource icon and it'll pop up and it'll split screen. But I know there was a lot of conversation of having the formula sheets printed, so you can print those. And then the blank and scrap paper and graph paper, those are permitted. You have to print them though. They don't come from Alberta Education.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're on the last couple slides here, just some troubleshooting. So the nice thing is we've been running PATs. We will be running PATs. We started this week. So there's lots of use with the Vretta platform before we get to diplomas. So I think just being in this role that's new for me, and experiencing PATs, there's lots of practice with the platform before we write diplomas on it. So some of the things we're seeing, a student's screen may freeze, restarting the device, logging in again. If that doesn't work, just switching devices. I know we've done that with humanities quite a bit, and so that doesn't change even now. There's still some of those issues that might come up. Refreshing your screen, often on the teacher dashboard. So if you're not seeing students pop up, or you're not seeing something or a response or anything like that, just refresh. Having your students complete these practice assessments it's really important. Just even like we said, go through the process of doing a practice assessment just so you have the students log in to the platform so that on the day of there's no issues with them being able to even access it. We've had a date of birth error that's been happening. It doesn't happen all the time, but what happens in PASI is they have a different birthday on file for that student. And so they're trying to log in with their real birthday and it's not syncing. And so that has to be corrected through the student record branch with the contact information here. What do I do if my student's work is missing? Online.assessment.gov.ab.ca. They're able to help you. You do want to provide them with the school code, the grouping heading, and the name of the student as well as their ASN. Lastly, contact if you have any issues with the platform Again, please feel free to contact us here at EdTech. We always like to know what's happening. And then also Alberta Ed, they have a Vretta support team, and they have their online assessment team that is available via email and that will be available to help answer any of your questions all throughout the year. So that is all we had. Lydia, do you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to say, I mean, thank you. I know this is, you said we a lot, but I was like, this is all you and your expertise. We thought it was just important to talk about this specific to the written response, because these are the ones where students have to be uploaded beforehand, whereas all of the other ones that don't have that are, no one has to be added ahead of time. So that's really the difference for us in the math diploma world.